Well, one of the biggest challenges we have is our crumbling infrastructure. The city of Austin spends so much money trying to bring people and businesses to Austin, but neglects the people who already live here in Austin. They want to spend millions of dollars, probably even billions, for a train system when we have streets that are falling to pieces. The Y and Kill has been neglected for 13 years. It backs up traffic 4 miles at 2 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. That needs to be addressed. Our current infrastructure needs to be addressed before we start building anything else, along with the like they want to spend 60 million tax dollars for the Waller Creek development, which is very pretty, but it couldn't be handled by a private development. But if we have $60 million to spend, I'd rather make sure that sidewalks are uh, smooth and crack free. I mean, I've seen people on my own street who are in wheelchairs and they're forced to ride in the street along with traffic because the sidewalks are so bad. And in the north side, there are some sidewalks that are so degraded that they're basically gravel, and bus stops that don't have any ramps or access. And that's a really serious problem when you think about what your basic infrastructure is. There's no storm drains on my street. And there's actually a place nearby where 4 days after it rains, there's a 3-inch puddle that takes up the entire intersection because there's no storm drain. First of all, the one thing that people need to understand is Austin Energy does not have a revenue problem. It has a spending problem. There's what most people don't understand is that there's maybe they do when they look at their electric bill, they wonder why it's so high. It's because there's a north of 9% stealth tax that's added to everyone's electric bill, and that takes $100 million out of the economy, and it goes to pay for things that have absolutely nothing to do with electricity, such as a $6,000 award for an award ceremony for the Chamber of Commerce, and sickle cell anemia research, which is a horrible illness, but which needs to have be cured and researched, but not on the backs of people trying to keep their house cool when it's 100 degrees for 70 days like it was last summer. I would like to eliminate the stealth tax altogether, and that would obviously drop people's electric bill by 9% and put $100 million back into Austin's pocket, especially when you think that gas is going to go north of $5 a gallon this summer. Having any bit of extra disposable income may be the difference between uh, the quality of life or someone living on the edge. And also the city council wants to raise the electric rate without looking at efficiencies. I think I've read somewhere that if Austin Energy cuts its overhead by 5%, that's a savings of $50 million. So if you look at eliminating the stealth tax and making Austin Energy 5% more efficient, that's $150 million extra dollars that people will have access to, and that people will be able to spend that money in Austin, helping small businesses and families alike. Well, one thing is to like the electricity. That's one big thing. That's something you have to deal with every single month. And also, people did the Waller Creek development, which was $60 million. It was actually getting financed through raising of people's water bills. So now every single person who gets access to Austin water or wastewater is being forced to pay for this development, and that's $60 million. Like I said, right there, that's $60 million that people aren't having access to. And if we look at stuff like basic utilities, which is stuff that Austin actually has direct oversight and purview over, so that would be something you'd look at that and just see how that would help. But one thing we need to look at is just reducing the overall government spending. One of my long-term goals is to reduce city property taxes to maybe even the point of making Austin's finances so finely tuned that we may be able to eliminate city property taxes in the future. After school programs that could definitely be handled charitably, and especially when you think about the fact that people will have hundreds of millions of extra dollars to contribute into what they feel, and or at least done through the general fund. But things like I said, like the Chamber of Commerce award ceremony for $6,000, you just get rid of stuff like that. You would have so much more at disposable income to where people can choose to say, well, you know what, I have this so many hundreds of extra dollars. Maybe my kid does not need to go to this after school program. Maybe I can hire a private tutor, or well, this program is very important to me and I have this extra money to give, so I'm going to donate into a program that I think is more better suited for my neighborhood, instead of it just being taken out of from your electric bill, your water bill, sales taxes, property taxes, and put to what the city council decides is the best program for you. I think the people making the choices with their money is preferable to the government doing that. Well, one thing that a lot of people I've discovered in this race is, doing a lot of research, is that the city wastes so much money that if you were to just cut the budget of the city in a way of just eliminating largesse, you would be able to save so much money. We need to have all these tax revenues, like sales tax, property tax, stealth taxes, TIFs, just to keep the city functioning. But the fire, police, park, sanitation, civic government, those aren't threatened by the elimination of stealth taxes and things like that. It's the people. It's a private for-profit interests that circle around City Hall looking for a free lunch. That's what is in danger, is for them, because we're going to be taking care of Austinites and giving them a good quality of life. And you may not be able to eliminate property taxes, but it's definitely something to work for as a goal. When you look at big projects such as the urban rail, first of all, buses and cars are not the way of the future for transportation. I think that's understood by everybody. But I honestly could not spend $1 billion on urban rail when we have streets that are just falling to pieces that we already have, modes of transportation that aren't being dealt with. One thing that we have is a really good bus system here in Austin, but it can be made better by doing simple things such as um, putting system maps at bus stops. Just people knowing how to get from place to place, knowing where the bus is going to go, would increase ridership. I had a friend who came in for South by Southwest, and he walked like 2 miles from downtown because he had no idea where the bus went. And they have these QR codes, which is, what if you don't have a smartphone? Can you not take a bus? And I actually have um, one of my friends here in Austin who lives on William Cannon and Brody, and she works at UT. And during rush hour, there's only one bus every half hour, and so she has to basically decide arriving at work an hour early or a half hour early or half hour late. And if you're just to increase rush hour commute times, expand point to point express buses like park and rides like at Oak Hill to downtown nonstop, those kind of programs, you would be able to utilize the transportation systems that we already have. I absolutely support 10-1. It is the best idea. It's the best plan that we have. The City Charter Review Committee endorses 10-1. The NAACP endorses 10-1. The GOP endorses 10-1. And if you can get those three groups to agree on one plan, you definitely have a winning idea. I live in South Austin. 40% of the city lives south of the river. We have traffic, urban sprawl, crumbling infrastructure, and bills to pay. And not a single member of city council lives south of the river. Actually, not a single member of city council lives south of the river or north of 45th Street. And you have geographic, zones like Oak Hill or the Northwest that are just falling to pieces. Their needs are long ignored, and having district systems would increase not only voter turnout, because people will be like, hey, I know this person. We should, he cares about my issues. I want him to be my councilman. But it also would increase participation in elections, because not many people can afford $50,000 to run a citywide campaign. But I think that you can possibly find $4,000 and run a very good campaign in your district. And so you not only would you increase participation, but voter turnout, especially if we move the elections to November, which I also support.